Hey, I'm Cameron. I just read comics. I love them. Welcome back to another episode of Cameron's Comics Vacation Edition. So, Labor Day weekend, out of town in Palm Springs. But I brought my stuff because I knew I was reading Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips' new 11th criminal story, The Knives. I want to hop right into it. Really important to always say that, especially for something like the criminal universe that is like an indie comics universe, this story, the cool part about criminal is that you don't need any context to any stories that have happened before or after. Yeah, there's some characters, some histories, but like think of each story kind of like exploring one part of a family tree. And so one member of a family tree and how those members interact with other members. So it's like you can find out from everyone about others, and then you can go explore those other relationships. And then there's another book coming out that's going to be about another member of the family and their history and their story. This one is no different, and I think this one is also like an exceptional one of, if not the best. Every story feels so freaking personal to someone like Ed Brubaker, who has reached so much career fame. The story, largely in this one, there's three different points of view. You know, there is the main character, Jacob Kurtz. Jacob Kurtz is also, in my opinion, named after Jacob Kurtzberg, later a very famous comic book creator named Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby's a pen name. We follow his trip to Hollywood. It's the story of watching him, this writer of a comic series, go to Hollywood. And if you guys know what's happening on in the criminal universe right now, Ed Brubaker is currently producing Amazon Prime Video's adaptation of Criminal. So this is very auto-bio of the criminal universe and how there's stuff going on in Ed Brubaker's life. So you see how Jacob Kurtz is changed by the industry, but then he gets assigned to live with Angie, who is a bartender at the Undertow Bar, which is very staple in the criminal universe. Angie is basically takes Jacob under her wing, or like it's a reluctant relationship that they share. Angie is a brash teenager, kind of occupying Jacob's space, and while he doesn't think they would get along, they actually end up really getting along. She saves Jacob from his own isolation. And so then the story weaves into Angie's life and Angie's relationship with her ex-boyfriend, and how she kind of really finds a way to keep herself getting into trouble, and she's a cat burglar. The cool part about Angie's cat burglar saga is it's so reminiscent of Ed Brubaker and Darwin Cook's work on Catwoman. I just felt like I was transported back to that run. If you want to collect it, Catwoman of East End Omnibus by Ed Brubaker. So it's totally awesome. Then the last character we pick up, which is probably one of the most recent criminal stories I've read, is Tracy Lawless. So he comes in to help Jacob and Angie, and those are the stories that interweave. It's really well done. It's the longest criminal book that has come out so far, so it's incredible. That's what I want you guys to know going into it. It's so auto-bio, and like it's also love letter comic books and like comic book industry. Like that's the cool part about what Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips do, is they really they love comic books and comic book history, comic book lore, and this story is no different than that. No different to that narrative. Now for Sean Phillips art. Sean Phillips doing pencils, inks. Jacob Phillips, his son, doing the colors. My favorite collaboration of creators. Jacob Phillips' colors. I just feel like every single story they get better. And a lot of comic artists that I've listened to feel like their work gets better over time is because they know the shortcuts that they can take. And I'm like, maybe that's the case with Sean Phillips, but this story is just like, he knows what techniques he needs to use in his art and where he needs to emphasize and where he doesn't. And there's just some of these like street scenes. There's a page that's on Angie's, she calls it balcony, but it's a fire escape. That's just absolutely gorgeous and slice of life, and it's done so well. So many of the cityscapes, the nighttime glow of the lights that they do, especially with Jacob Phillips' like pastel colors, it's mesmerizing. This is just, I always want to describe like the criminal universe whenever I get to interview creators. they're always reading these. My favorite advertisement for this book was Matt Rosenberg, who said, you know, who had books coming out this last Wednesday. Matt Rosenberg says, okay, books to pick up this week. Number 1, The Knives, The Criminal Story. And then the second book, he was like, okay, then my comic book. So I'm like, I just feel like Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, The Criminal Universe, it's your favorite comic writer's favorite comic. Every single creator I talk to I'm like, what are you reading? They always pick these up. Brian K. Vaughan has a quote saying they're about 8, Brubaker and Phillips are about 8 years ahead of their time. And especially, I don't personally love the coloring of some of the older criminal stuff. That is not the case here. When Jacob Phillips came on, I think it just injected life into these pages like we've never seen before. I would compare Brubaker and Phillips' collaborations to De Niro and Scorsese. They're just chef's kiss. So good. So now for my rating. This is the longest criminal book. I want to say it's my favorite, but I just read it, and My Heroes Have Always Been Junkies will eternally be my favorite. That and Bad Weekend. But yeah, for my rating, I have to give this like a 9.6 out of 10. It's just a absolute delight. Let the story take you away. It's a masterclass on all things comic books can do. Couldn't love it more. Excited to read more Criminal, and excited for Amazon Prime Video's Criminal to come out. So, my name's Cameron. I'll just read comics. That's my review. The Knives by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. See you guys next time.